Well, and if we can start, because it is such a triggering conversation, James, I do want to bring it to the audience's attention that at any time, 24/7, you may call, for survivors, you may call the National Indigenous Residential School Crisis Line, and that number is 1-866-925-4419. And I think even having to say that off the bat, James really talks about what First Nation, Métis, and Inuit communities are dealing with right now. There is so much grief. And for Kawases First Nation to announce today that 751 Indigenous children were found to be in unmarked graves at the site of an old Catholic run residential school. You know, I do want to repeat what their chief has asked for, and they need time to heal. They have requested, but they have also requested the support of Canadians. And I have a feeling that we will be hearing those two requests repeatedly over coming weeks, months, and possibly years, because this is just the very beginning of this horrendous, these horrendous announcements. There were over 140 residential schools operating throughout history in Canada over time. And we haven't even, this is, I believe, number 5 in Canada, residential schools that they've announced the discovery of bodies. There was Leastock and Brandon and Regina, Kamloops, and now Kawases. So, you know, we have a long way to go here.
I've said this to you before. This obviously is a sign of what we're going to be going through for the next probably few years here, right?
Yeah, and as an Ojibwe woman, like today, I was in Port Severn in Georgian Bay Township setting up our sign display. It's the commemorative and awareness raising signs, and setting those signs up. That was only 215 signs, and it's a symbolic gesture to honor the children who died at residential schools and to honor residential school survivors. And I've been setting these signs up all week, and I've been taking them down all week with volunteers and help. And it never fails every single morning when they're all set up and I'm looking around and I'm reading the information again, to get that sick feeling in my stomach. And today I haven't been able to get rid of that sick feeling in my stomach. And what I would really like for people, Canadians and people who live in Muskoka and who care about this issue, it is so important to take the initiative to self-educate about Canada's true history. The signs and the process that we're going through right now at Port Severn, and then tomorrow they'll be in Huntsville, is a moment for you to be able to take time to reflect and to learn a little bit, the bare minimum really, about some of Canada's history. There's a lot more learning that people need to do about history here in Canada, and we need Canadian support. We have to have you on board to help bring awareness and to help our communities heal. We have to be working with Indigenous and non-Indigenous governments to be able to reconcile going forward and to atone for this horrific past. And we need Canadians to be writing to every single elected official. We need you to write to them. They have to be completely inundated with Canadian outrage, sorrow, and grief for what is going on in Canada right now. It has to be at such a level that there is no option for elected officials to say no. And anybody who has a moral compass and is affected by the news that we are going to continue to hear needs to continuously be doing this.
Trisha, I know this is, this is the hardest thing that you've had to talk about in a long time. And I don't want to continue to push this further. But what I think it's important to continue to talk about the ramifications for the people that are involved. And one of those organizations is the Catholic Church. And we've heard that accusations of them removing these gravestones, of being involved in this process. We've heard from various officials that we want to hear this response from the Pope. Where do you stand on this point as well?
The Pope has to apologize. It is completely unacceptable, and it shows a complete lack in moral leadership and authority that it hasn't happened to date. And to give you a little bit of background here as well, we have other churches that were involved. So the Anglican Church, the United Church, the Presbyterian Church. But you know what the difference is with them? They apologized back in the 90s. The Catholic Church to date, which ran 2/3 of all of the residential schools across Canada, has not. Where is the moral leadership? Isn't that the purpose of the Catholic Church? Aren't they supposed to be a moral authority? And Catholics should be hanging their head in shame. I know that they are. My family, we're Catholic, and I know that they are ashamed that the Pope hasn't apologized. And that's the bare minimum that could happen at this point, is an apology from the Catholic Church. And I would support any petition asking for that.
Let's end this on a higher note as much as we can, and saying that this fantastic commemorative campaign that you've been running this week, it's going to be ending in Huntsville at Rivermill Park. 2:00 is when that final sort of ceremony is. Can you tell us a bit about this campaign again, and what it's meant to you and what it's meant to the Indigenous community here?
Well, and it started off from a moment of shared grief and sorrow when we heard about 215 Indigenous children in Kamloops, and the need to want to do something and to not feel so powerless. And so we created these signs, and the purpose of the signs was to bring the community together, but to honor the children and to honor residential school survivors. And on the back of the signs, there's facts about residential schools. There's also facts about the ongoing legacy of residential schools. And so it's a moment that people were able to relieve some of their sorrow and also learn. And that moment has been happening all week. So Monday through to tomorrow, the signs have been in different jurisdictions and have been there for an entire day so that people can walk around and learn and reflect. We've had a major outpouring of support. People are continuing to be shocked by Canada's past. And I continue to be told that, we didn't know. And I want that to change. I want people to know what happened. We need to turn the page on that and move in a different direction. And that's part of what this campaign is about.